So as you can tell here, the drilling operations is not on the in the knowledge base that we use for the automatic feature machining. So how could we modify the knowledge base to also include the drilling features? So in order to include the drilling features, so since the hole features and the milling features are different feature types, in the case of hole features, you could have through holes, blind holes, you could have holes with a counter bore, or a holes with a chamfer, which could be like a countersunk holes. So those are identified as a separate category of features like hole features. In the case of milling features, you typically have either closed pockets, open pockets, and they all can be programmed as a milling feature. That's why we differentiate between holes as a separate feature types versus the milling features. So as you select the hole feature in here, you could go into what is called Create Machining Knowledge Base for selected hole features. And as you click on it, it displays the cross-section for the holes. So it identifies this particular hole cross-section has a through hole and also has a a countersunk at the top, like a chamfer feature at the top. Now you can choose what operation you would like to use for programming the hole features. I could choose to do a standard drill. I can drag and drop. So for hole features, these are the available operation types that you could use, and you can drag and drop them. So you could be doing like a spot drill and then a deep drill, or you could be doing one or more operations in here. Now once you've identified the operation for this particular hole feature cross-section, you could save this operation in here into your automatic feature machining knowledge base. So when you click on Save in AFM knowledge base, it appends this whole feature to the knowledge base. So it just saved it in the knowledge base. Now if I go back into the Create Machining Knowledge Base for Milling Features and load the AFM knowledge base, you will now notice that the whole feature that we just created is appended to the knowledge base at the very end. Now if you have hole features of different hole cross sections, in this particular example we have two different cross sections in here. So I'm going to pick the hole feature number 2 and click on Create Machining Operations for these as well. As I select the hole features, you can see that this is a through hole. There aren't any countersunk or chamfer on this. And again, I'm going to pick an operation for this as well. I'm going to pick a standard drill and choose to save this in the AFM knowledge base, which is the automatic feature machining knowledge base, and I'm going to pick Save. Now this also whole feature is added to the knowledge base. So if you go back into your knowledge base of both milling and hole features, you will notice that the two hole features are now being appended to this knowledge base in here. Now once you have the knowledge base with these hole features appended, if you go back and generate an automatic feature machining, you will now notice that it has generated your machining operations for all the milling features, and you also have the toolpaths generated for the hole features. So there's two types of hole features in here. Now these two holes have a similar cross section, but the depths are different. It has a countersunk or a chamfer and a through hole. And this one also has a similar cross-section, but the diameters could be different and the depths could be different. And again, here we have a through hole. So the toolpaths have been automatically generated based on the hole features identified in here for these. So you could now reorder these operations in here. So if you'd want to program the hole features before you do the chamfer operations, you can just do a drag and drop to reorder it in here after you generate the toolpath, or if you'd like to have this automatically reordered in your knowledge base, you could still do that. The process would be by going into your knowledge bases tab in the machining objects browser. So I'm going to move this over to the side, go to the K-Bases tab, and load the knowledge base, which we just created here, which is the default AFM knowledge base. And you'll now notice that all of the operations in the automatic feature machining knowledge base are present in here, and I can now select an operation and reorder it by performing a simple drag and drop. So once I have this reordered in here, I can go back and resave this to the default knowledge base in here, or I can rename it or use it under a different name in here. So I can say I want to call this with a different name. So you can create knowledge bases with different names as needed, and you can prepared them for different types of parts or different class of parts that you're using, so you can build different feature-based machining knowledge bases for your programming needs. And once you create them, so I'm going to call this knowledge base with inch-3. I'm going to save this up in here. Once you have the knowledge base created and saved, you just need to go back and remap it in here. So you go into your CAM preferences, go down to features, and then right where it says automatic feature machining knowledge base, you change it to the knowledge base that you'd like to use for automatically generating your toolpaths. So once you have that established, I'm going to go ahead and clear out these operations. If I pick automatic feature machining, you will now notice that it uses the knowledge base number 3 that you pointed to, and the machining operations are generated for each of the milling features. After the slotting operation, you'll notice that the whole features are being programmed, and at the very end, you have the chamfer operations programmed for it. So now if you go ahead and run a verification, right-click and do a simulate until, you'll notice that the holes are also being programmed in here in the knowledge base. So